Part 49. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjio Old Thief. Chapter 481. The Fifth Abyss. A gap suddenly opened in the dark sky. Several figures walked out of it, and the many monsters that were approaching immediately dispersed. Just the aura exuded by one of the strong men made them so frightened that they almost fell to the ground and surrendered. This is my first time in the Fifth Abyss. Yabai stretched out and looked around. Over at the Demon Emperor's palace, Second Master Ying had a great time stealing from the house. On the other side, surrounded by a group of monsters and members of the demon cult, Zhang Yun's situation was extremely urgent. Let's go over and have a look. Today, Yabai has 3 major protectors and has the power to defeat the ancestor of a level 1000 demon alone. He is extremely confident. In this Fifth Abyss, where can't we go? With Ying-san here, they don't have to rush in the abyss. As soon as his eyes flashed, he appeared above the battlefield, overlooking the battle situation. After seeing the situation clearly, Ying-si asked in a low voice. Fourth Master, do you want to take action? Don't worry, just play with them. Yabai even moved a rocking chair, sat on it, and rocked the feather fan gently. Yazujbai, limited skin, online. Remember, we are just spectators, just take a good look, damn it, what is going on? Yabai glanced down and lost his composure on the spot. The third Shadow King, Zhang Yun's biological father Zhang Ziyuan, turned into a blood shadow. At this time, while Zhang Ziyuan was frantically attacking everyone in the demon sect, he did not let Zhang Yun go. If Zhang Yun hadn't carried life-protecting tools with him, he would have died by Shui Ying's knife. Yabai frowned slightly and asked with a hint of dissatisfaction. Where's Shadow 10? Let him come out. In order to prevent Zhang Yun from having an accident, Yabai had a backup plan. Shadow 10, although he is only ranked 10th in the God of War level. But for ordinary situations, it is enough. When the human race war situation was so tense, Yabai moved around to squeeze out Shadow 10 and arrange it in such an important place. As a result, Zhang Ziyuan turned into a blood shadow. I can't even deal with this little bit of salted fish and rotten shrimp. Is this 9th level war god Su Qingfeng? Although Yabai's tone was only slightly dissatisfied. However, everyone present knew one thing. Fourth Master, I'm angry. Ying-san said in a deep voice. Fourth Master, you can't be angry. Ying-si said anxiously, I have contacted Ying-ten, but there is no response. As a weak woman in Ying-ai, she was ready to go straight to the end. A wall of air stopped Ying-yi. The faces of the crowd changed again, and they realized that things were not simple. Fourth Master, this is. Needless to say, Yabai also knew who stopped Ying-yi. Understatement and calmness, only the strongest can do this. In an instant, everyone became honest. Yabai sat back in his rocking chair and waved his hands gently. Then play music, then dance. During the battle, they were far less leisurely than Yabai and others. Zhang Yun's left arm hung down weakly, blood dripping from his fingertips, and his chest heaved violently. He breathed rapidly, trying to relieve the pain. Just now he took a knife from Shui Ying, which made the left half of his body almost numb. This is not the toughest problem yet. Wang San, who was responsible for protecting him before, has now completely fallen into madness and is fighting desperately. Even the people of the demon sect were in a bit of a panic, as the blood shadows swept through the surroundings, causing considerable losses to them. Shadow King 3, this word contains a lot of gold. You know, there are only 99 war gods in the shadow. The 100th shadow, no matter how strong he is, can only be the king of war. From a certain perspective, being able to firmly occupy the position of Wang San among thousands of troops, if Zhang Ziyuan were still alive, his talent and achievements would not be lower than those of the god of war. but at this moment, he transformed into a blood shadow, directly breaking the shadow's strength limit. Successfully broke through from the king of war to the god of war. At other times, ignoring the small detail of blood shadow, this is definitely good news. But, they were on the battlefield at this time. Wang San did not distinguish between ourselves and the enemy, and attacked regardless of the cost. Not only did he cause a lot of casualties to the enemy, but even Zhang Yun was implicated in it, making him miserable. The blood shadow war god Zhang Ziyuan becomes stronger as he fights, and his blood is so rich that it is almost substantive. Boy! A war god in the demon cult roared. You are on a special mission, and there must be a shadow war god guarding you. Let him take action. If we delay it any longer, we will all die together. These traitors from the human race actually know the style of the top human race leaders best. In their opinion, it was perfectly normal for Zhang Yun to carry out such an important mission with a shadow war god by his side. Zhang Yun turned a deaf ear to the enemy's shouts. While treating the injury on his left arm, he was thinking about how to lead Wang San to break out. Unfortunately, no matter which method he used to communicate with Senior Wang San, he could not get in touch. After shouting to no avail, everyone in the demon cult cursed loudly. They were worried before that there might be a god of war behind Zhang Yun. The reason why they kept delaying and refused to take action was, on the other hand, I want to take down the enemy at the minimum cost. But several figures attacked from different directions at the same time. The monsters around me don't agree. It's time now, stop hiding it. At the very end, a sharp arrow shot at Zhang Yun, ringing the bell of his death. A young teacher with black clothes and black hair stretched out in front of Zhang Yun. Facing the absolute strength gap, Zhang Yun had no power to fight back. Even wanting to self-destruct and die together with the enemy was a luxury. Study well and be a good person. He was surprised to find that he was not dead yet. When they really decided to take action, the unconscious blood shadow showed his greatest weakness and was easily trapped by various deceptions and illusions. If there is a human war god here, it is impossible to watch Wang San turn into a blood shadow. The feeling of being stretched out time faded away like a tide, and Zhang Yun returned to reality. Or we all die together. The attitude of the monsters surrounding them was very clear. Without the interference of the blood shadow, Zhang Yun is just a piece of dough that can be manipulated at will. Countless scenes flashed before his eyes, and his short life was like a damp firework that ended before it even had time to bloom. A demon sect war god roared like a trapped beast. Do it? Now it seems impossible. Facing Wang San, who had completely transformed into a blood shadow, everyone in the demon cult wanted to leave directly. After being reborn in another world, I finally have to show my true skills. Superior. Damn it, isn't this kid an abandoned kid? Teacher Xiao showed a confident and charming smile, feeling extremely lucky. On the one hand, they are afraid of the god of war hiding in the dark. Either the blood shadow dies, or everyone in the demon sect dies. Restrain the blood shadow, kill the boy named Zhang first, and then deal with the blood shadow. Zhang Yun seemed to see the teacher again and warned him. In the last moments of his life, Zhang Yun felt that time was extremely long. On the battlefield, things are changing rapidly and there is no room for error. After having the plan, the execution ability of everyone in the demon cult was immediately maximized. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 482. Xiao, Teacher Xiao. Zhang Yun was a little disbelieving, his voice trembled slightly. Xiao Ziao's smile froze on the spot. Why does this voice sound so familiar? Xiao Ziao turned around stiffly, looked at Zhang Yun blankly, and asked. Where are we? Is it possible that Zhang Yun and he were hit by a truck and reborn in another world at the same time? Zhang Yun answered truthfully. The fifth abyss. Xiao Ziao's body trembled uncontrollably, and he looked up to the sky and screamed. Kill me! Now! He never expected that he would return to this damn world again. In the sky, a figure familiar to Xiao Ziao raised the power of nature. Ye Bai asked kindly. Really kill Xiao Ziao? He is very sincere. Can you give me a chance to reorganize the language? Ye Bai put away the power of nature and sat back in the rocking chair. The moment Xiao Ziao appeared, others didn't know what it meant. After all, they had never dealt with Xiao Ziao. Ye Bai is different. In the first half of Ye Bai's growth, the leader of the fourth demon sect is a crucial hidden thread. The former leader of the fourth demon cult, Lian Liangan, was reincarnated as Xiao Ziao, and bumped into Ye Bai at the summer camp, starting the last war between the abyss and the human race. Originally, when the dust settled, Ye Bai thought it was over. Who would have thought that Xiao Ziao would give Ye Bai a big transformation? Something's not quite right. Ye Bai's eyes fell on Xiao Ziao, trying to get some clues. Information is still as much information as before. Ye Bai did not hesitate to use up the remaining opportunity for the official version of Sage Mode. Parsing. Half a minute later, a new prompt appeared in front of Ye Bai. This person was once the shadow of Lian Liancan, but now, as you can see, he is a lively person. Hiss. Ye Bai took a breath of cold air, chills spread throughout his body, and he was enveloped in a silent fear. Xiao Ziao wasn't a living person from the beginning. In an instant, Ye Bai figured out countless things. The hidden line of Lian Liancan and Xiao Ziao was laid out decades ago, and Xiaoao is the chess player. Originally, Ye Bai thought that Xiaoao organized the demon cult in order to lure out the demon god at a critical moment and kill him with one strike. Looking back now. Small. The layout is smaller. Demon god. Xiaoao has never cared about this kind of thing. Third brother's eyes have never fallen on the fourth demon god. This hidden line, from the beginning, was just for an experiment. An experiment on resurrection. Ye Bai's right hand trembled slightly, suppressing the fear in his heart, and spoke calmly. Bring me a glass of wine and give me a shock. Public shadows. Ying San brought a glass of wine, and Ye Bai drank it down. His mood calmed down a little, and his thoughts gradually recovered. The version of the story that Ye Bai knew before. Xiao Ziao is the reincarnation of Lian Liancan, and Lian Liancan was killed by Yingju. No, that's not the case. Xiao Ziao has been the shadow of Lian Liancan from the very beginning. Just like, Yingju is Xueju's shadow. Xueju is dead, Yingju is alive. Lian Liancan is dead, but Xiao Ziao is alive. This is an identical control group. Xiaoao did an experiment with Lian Liancan. Lian Liancan knew this very well and even actively cooperated. And Yingju, Ye Bai, and even Xiao Ziao were all kept in the dark. Now, the experiment has reached the most critical stage. The dead Xiao Ziao was resurrected by unknown means by Xiaoao. So, what's next? What about Lian Liancan? If Lian Lian can be resurrected, then Xiaoao's experiment will be successful. Yingju and Xueju can both survive. Ye Bai, who wanted to understand all this, was still shocked and speechless. The free and easy moves seem random, but every move can be called the magic hand. The most important thing is that Ye Bai figured out something important. With third brother's carefree temper, would he go to great lengths for the fourth demon god? Won't. From the beginning to the end, he didn't care about the fourth demon god. The fourth demon god is just a cover-up used to blind Yingju. Master Ju, he was deceived by his own students. Ye Bai never expected that the old liar would be here today. In fact, Master Ju was in the abyss of power at this time and had no way of knowing what was happening in the outside world. Only two people know the full story of this matter. Ye Bai, Xiaoao. After thinking about this, Ye Bai became slightly stiff. He saw a butterfly flying in front of him. Everything around him seemed to be still, and there were only Ye Bai and this butterfly in the whole world. Before Ye Bai could salute, Butterfly spoke first. No need to be polite. The butterfly flaps its wings and looks at Ye Bai. See clearly. Ye Bai nodded. The butterfly flapped its wings again. Do not say. Ye Bai nodded again. Xiaoao's meaning is simple, don't tell Yingju about this. Ye Bai is not a big mouth, so he can't brag about this kind of thing everywhere. In other words, this matter only needs to be hidden from one person from beginning to end, Yingju. After getting Ye Bai's answer, the butterfly flapped its wings again and prepared to leave. He stopped in mid-air, went and came back again, returning to Ye Bai. Xiaoao paused for a few seconds and spoke again. Anything you want to ask? Ye Bai pondered for a moment and asked the question he was most concerned about. Xiao Xiao, how did you come back to life? I have no idea. Xiaoao gave an unexpected answer. After thinking about it, he added. Nightmare once said. Ye Bai had already taken out the paper and pen and started to draw the key points. The stronger Ye Bai becomes, the more curious he becomes about Nightmare, and the more he feels that Nightmare is different. Among the three most powerful people in the human race, Meng Meng, Wu Han, and Xiaoao, Ye Bai was the only one who had not seen Meng Meng until now. Xiaoao waited for Ye Bai to put down the paper and pen before continuing. The living is the only link between the dead and the present world. This sentence was not difficult to understand. Ye Bai immediately asked. So, Xiao Xiao's resurrection is actually a dream come true taking effect. The butterfly flapped its wings, yes. Putting away the paper and pen, Ye Bai said respectfully, I have no problem. The butterfly flew away. Everything around him returned to normal, and no one noticed that the butterfly had been there. Any more wine? Ye Bai took the wine bottle, took a few sips, stuffed it back into his pocket, and continued to focus on the battlefield. Although eating melon is good, it will make you burst. This melon is too big. On the battlefield, Xiao Xiao, who had come back from the dead, glanced at the people of the demon sect. So many scumbags. Looking around, Xiao Xiao was happy. I raise the moral average here. He looked back at Zhang Yun and said seriously. Although I don't know what happened, you are probably responsible for my being able to survive. Xiao Xiao hugged Zhang Yun enthusiastically. In this way, let's just say goodbye. We don't want to be born in the same year, the same month and the same day, and we don't want to die in the same year, the same month and the same day. Let's just say goodbye. We don't owe each other anything. Zhang Yun? That, Teacher Xiao. Zhang Yun was a little confused and couldn't help but ask, are you quite strong? Xiao Xiao waved his hand and said modestly. Level 899, you can surpass the level and fight with the god of war, so it's just so. Zhang Yun was delighted, then you can take me and Wang San. I can take you, but who is Wang San? Xiao Xiao looked at the red shadow monster in the field and swallowed. That's not necessary. Don't say that there are so many scumbags staring at me. I'm no match for him even if I fight alone. This. Zhang Yun fell into silence, not knowing what to say for a moment. You can't fight with force, you have to outsmart me. Xiao Xiao swaggered to the front of the two armies and said arrogantly. I am the leader of the 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 6th demon sects. Which unit do you belong to and who is the leader? Let him come out and negotiate with me. Listening to Xiao Xiao's words, everyone in the demon cult was stunned for a moment, and then burst into laughter. Boy, listen carefully. The strong man holding a giant axe said with great energy. Your grandfather and I are from the 5th demon sect. My leader, the 5th demon. Xiao Xiao. He looked back at Zhang Yun and forced out a wry smile. Xiaozhang, teacher, I have to say my last words again. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 483. Xiao Zial had calculated everything, but he never expected that the other party would be so stubborn. Among the demonic sects, the fifth demonic sect has always been the most bizarre existence. Of course, the fifth demon sect leader is also the strongest demon sect leader. Dear fellow scum, we all have things to discuss, there is no need to fight to the death, peace is more valuable. Xiao Ziao laughed twice and explained. After all, I am the leader of the first, third, fourth, and sixth demon sections. I don't look at the monk's face but the Buddha's face. The strong man with the giant axe said coldly. The third, fourth, and sixth demon gods are all dead. A dead demon is worse than a dog. Oh. Xiao Zial's reaction was very dull and not surprising at all. In fact, he had anticipated this outcome. Then there is also the great demon god. There is a saying, it is enough to use the great demon god as a backer to bluff people. Xiao Zial pointed at Zhang Yun and said seriously. This is the key training target of my first demon sect, Anzi in the human race. Zhang Yun? Oops, I've become a traitor. Teacher Xiao, Shut up. Xiao Zial interrupted Zhang Yun's words and said fiercely. I said you are who you are. Damn it, when is it? Survival is important. Wait until you get through this hurdle before thinking about other issues. This is Xiao Zial's code of conduct. It's better to survive than to be miserable. The problem is, even if Xiao Zial wants to survive in a dog hole, the other party will not give him this chance. The strong man with the giant axe had a strange expression and mocked coldly. Idiot, the great demon god was seriously injured by Madman Huo and is in critical condition. You don't even know this. Xiao Zial is stupid. He murmured to himself. I'm so stupid, I only know that the third, fourth, and sixth are dead. No backer works. Xiao Zial had only one last option left. He looked at everyone in the demon cult and asked a sincere question. Brother, do you still lack a leader? My resume is quite good. I have rich experience as a leader of the demon cult. I have worked in 4 companies and bankrupted 3 companies. Everyone from the 5th demon cult. Stop talking nonsense to him, he's stalling for time. I've heard of this Xiao Zial. He's very ruthless. Let's all do it together. If you are Lian Liankan, I will respect you a little. If you are not even a god of war, get out of here. Everyone in the demon sect changed their faces when they said they would. Get ready to take action. Xiao Zial also had a cold expression on his face, took 2 steps back, and stood beside Zhang Yun. Zhang Yun whispered. Teacher Xiao, if it doesn't work, you can leave first. Quiet, listen to me. Xiao Zial's eyes were cold and gloomy, and he could almost squeeze water out of his mouth. He has always been very deep in the city, and he always thinks things through carefully. Although I don't know why I came back from the dead. However, Xiao Zial knows one thing very well, he is still useful. Behind this, it is mostly the work of the strongest Xiao. Since the other party left Xiao Zial here, and there was Shura watching the show above his head. Xiao Zial must have a way to break the situation. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a torture to let him live and die like this? Teacher Xiao, I am actually a strong person in the soul system. Xiao Zial whispered, pointing to his head. It's just that I'm a little abnormal here. I'm schizophrenic, do you understand? Zhang Yun shook his head honestly, I don't quite understand. Xiao Zial rolled his eyes. Anyway, there is a bad old man who is very powerful, and he is in my head. If he can come out, you still have a chance to live. If he can't come out, just like me, organize your last words. Although Zhang Yun doesn't understand schizophrenia. However, he found something not quite right. Teacher Xiao, if that bad old man comes out, you. Silly. Xiao Ziao smiled bitterly and shook his head. I said he was schizophrenic. If he lives, won't I die? He waved his hand and said nothing. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and began to recite silently in his heart. Damn old guy, come out quickly. Xiao Ziao didn't wait to kill the old guy. But he waited for another reinforcement. A shadow swept across the blood, protecting Zhang Yun and Xiao Ziao at the same time. The terrifying pressure of the god of war came from the shadows, and an old man's voice came. I'm Shadow 10. Shadow 10. When these two words spread across the battlefield, everyone in the demon cult stopped and looked at each other warily. That's it for today, how about that? When Shadow 10 spoke, his voice was very steady. He was fully confident that he would leave with Zhang Yun and Shuiying. Xiao Ziao? This guy who is related to his evil disciples, Ying Shi gets annoyed just looking at him. He will save him if he can, but if he can't save him, Ying Shi will spit on him and leave. Xiao Ziao didn't think so. The moment he saw Shadow 10, he shouted excitedly. Teacher, save me. Lian Lianqin's mentor? The veteran commander of the Blood Navy Regiment Ying Jinghua. A person's name, the shadow of a tree. There is no doubt that Ying Jinghua's combat power is among the top of the human race, and is definitely not comparable to that of Su Qingfeng. The moment Xiao Ziao revealed Ying Shi's identity in disguise, everyone in the demon sect began to retreat. Today's matter may really come to an end here. The demon sect members who were retreating suddenly stopped. A powerful monster walked out of the array and glanced coldly at everyone present. The devil has an order, leave no one behind. In an instant, Ying Shi, Xiao Ziao, and Zhang Yun's expressions darkened at the same time. Countless powerful monsters with eager eyes rushed towards everyone, covering the sky and the sun, endless. If the fifth demon god wants to commit suicide, he will continue to commit suicide to the end. In the void, the door of the eternal temple opened a gap, and a source of origin fell on the old man's shoulders, integrating perfectly with him. The situation is extremely critical. When passing by Ying Shi, he bowed slightly and saluted, his lips moved, as if he wanted to say something, but couldn't. Later generations called him, the Blood King. Their master is the fifth demon. Xiao Ziao, who was seriously injured and on the verge of death, was still mumbling. The old man smiled sadly, showing a bleak smile. A broken staff fell from the sky and fell into the old man's palm. The old man is skin and bones, neither human nor ghost, and he is not a good person at first glance. On this day, the former deputy commander of the Blood Marine Corps, the former leader of the fourth demon cult, and the human race resurrected from the dead. Behind Xiao Ziao, a skinny old man appeared at some point. I will kill you today without a burial place. Tong Tian, so what? While everyone in the demon cult was shouting crazily. A hoarse and sinister voice suddenly sounded on the battlefield. Zhang Yun's face was gray, and although he still held the knife in his hand, his eyes were filled with the will to die. The old man stood at the front, facing countless monsters. In the fifth abyss, enter the realm of the god of war. No one responded. Here is the fifth abyss. Ying Shi turned his face away and ignored it. It should be called the land of death without a shadow, ha ha ha. Outside Shadow 10's protective shield, the demon cult had the absolute upper hand at the moment, shouting. Before he finished speaking, a terrifying power rose from the ground. You just said that even the 9th level god of war wouldn't survive. In just the first round of the confrontation, under the impact of countless monsters, the defensive shield held up by Shadow 10 was crumbling. Can't you defeat the 9th level god of war? The moment he appeared, the fighting on the entire battlefield seemed to slow down. Shadow 10? What about the bullshit Shadow 10, the 9th level god of war? The old man held his staff and slowly walked up to Yingxi, facing the overwhelming wave of demons and demon sect members. Xiao Ziao was even worse. Before the monster rushed forward, he stopped in front of a 9th level war god and was severely injured. Damn old guy, I'm really going to die, I need to help my brother. If Shadow 10 hadn't saved him at the critical moment, he would have been dead by now. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 484. The moment the Tongtian war god appeared on the battlefield, the outcome was already determined. The skinny old man looked sinister and his methods were vicious. In an instant, countless monsters were wiped out. Xiao Zial, who was lying dead in the back row, pretended to be alive and jumped up excitedly. Hey, I broke through. Before Xiao Zial could be happy for half a second, he suddenly vomited blood and fell to the ground again. Xiao Zhang, come here quickly. Xiao Zial coughed twice and said tremblingly. Teacher, I have to say my last words again. He couldn't understand why he was still at level 899 when the old guy had clearly broken through to level 990 or above. This is not fair. After cleaning up the battlefield, the skinny old man turned around, glanced at Xiao Zial coldly, and said disdainfully. Idiot! You are you and I am me. These 6 words made Xiao Zial feel like he was struck by lightning, and he was stunned. He is not reincarnated in Lian Gan. After today, he will have nothing to do with Lian anymore. Xiao Zial was a very smart person. After he figured this out, the first thing he did was hold Zhang Yun's hand and said excitedly. Xiao Zhang, teacher, I am a good person in this life. Although Xiao Zial served as the leader of the 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 6th demon sect. But he knows that he is a good man. In terms of harmfulness, when Xiao Zial took office, these demonic sects had already existed in name only. He, the leader, is just a polished commander. And Xiao Zial only did one thing in his previous life, run away. In this life, if he has a choice, he must be a good person. Leaving aside the good guy Xiao Zial, Liangan walked to Yingxi and leaned forward slightly. Shadow 10's mood was a little complicated. Liangan was once his favorite student and disciple, he regarded him as his own son, and even the Blood Marine Corps was ready to be handed over to the other party. He never expected that Liangan, whom he had placed great hope in, would betray the human race and attack his comrades. The sea has changed, things have changed and people have changed. Yang Jinghua is dead, but Yang Shi is still alive. Liangan died once, but now he not only came back to life, he even became the god of war. Fortune plays tricks on people. Yang Shi snorted coldly, almost scolding. The crime you committed, even if you become the god of war, you will still deserve to die. Liangan frowned and replied respectfully. The student has already died once. You are not my student. Shadow 10 asked rhetorically. Then the comrade you killed will survive. Students don't know. With that said, Liangan took a step forward. A gust of cold wind blew past, and the blood shadow that was originally controlled by Shadow 10 suddenly broke free from the restraints and came out with a long knife in his hand. The blade was pointed directly at Lian. Get out of the way. Shadow 10 subconsciously pushed Liangan away to help him block the blow. He had forgotten that Liangan was the new god of war, and his strength was even greater than his. Liangan remained motionless, letting the blood shadow pierce him with a knife. Brush. 1 cut, 2 holes. Shuiying pulled out the knife and cut it down again. Liangan stood there, unable to fight back or retaliate. Shuiying slashed and cursed wildly. Fuck. 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 Go to hell. Go to hell. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Immoral thing. As he continued to draw swords, Shui Ying became more and more skilled in swearing. At first glance, it seems that he has studied the elegant art of language with King Huo Tian. What a grudge! Ye Bai, who was above the clouds, leaned forward and frowned, realizing that things were not simple. According to the initial news, Zhang Ziyuan was on the verge of losing control. This battle caused Zhang Ziyuan to completely lose control and turn into a blood shadow. But after Lian Lianqin appeared, things seemed to change again. Zhang Ziyuan recovered from the previous state of losing his intelligence. Although I am now a walking troll, being able to troll is better than not being able to troll. And the blood on Zhang Xiu's tattoo gradually faded, and there were a few bloody lines on Lian Lianqin's face. Ye Bai couldn't help but sigh. Big deal. Ying Ai was a little surprised. Fourth master, can you understand this? Ying San nodded slightly. If it's fourth master, it wouldn't be surprising if he could understand it. Shadow 4 echoed, that's true. What are you talking about? Ye Bai looked at the three shadows and asked curiously. I just didn't understand it, so I thought it was a big deal. Public shadows. Fourth master, he just loves to joke. Everyone present knew the significance of what was happening in front of them. For shadows, blood shadows have always been the most difficult problem. After Ye Bai contacted Shadow Brother, why did he try to get Shadow's food? Improving the Shadow's quality of life can make the Shadow more stable and prevent it from turning into a blood shadow. But these things can only be patched up and delayed, but they cannot completely solve the problem of blood shadow. If the matter in front of them becomes a blood shadow, it will no longer be a problem. The figures held their breath and stared at the battlefield below, refusing to let go of a single detail. As he spoke, he took a few steps forward, and the shadow of the eternal temple door appeared over the abyss, as if it was about to open again. Back then, Lian Lianqin betrayed the human race and killed a human war king as a pledge of surrender. How do you repay me? Stab me to death with a knife? Lian Lianqin showed an indifferent smile. Listening to Zhang Ziyuan's yelling, Ye Bai nodded slowly. The long knife in Zhang Ziyuan's hand was cut with a curled edge, and then he stopped what he was doing, gasping for air to regain his strength. Lian Lianqin, who had been hacked nearly 10,000 times, looked indifferent. He looked down at his body riddled with holes and shook his head. Students should bear their own sins. Zhang Ziyuan took the broken knife, pointed at Lian Lianqin's nose, and cursed. Because Zhang Ziyuan took on an undercover mission, he was targeted by Lian Lianqin who wanted to betray him, and he was killed as a certificate of surrender, so that Lian Lianqin's own guilt would be weaker. Tell me. Why did you kill me back then? How dare you, Mr. Lian, talk back. If the blood shadow is not empty, I will never become a god. While the two were talking, the last trace of blood on Zhang Xiu's tattoo faded away, turned into a black shadow, and fell into a deep sleep. Now the truth is revealed, Zhang Ziyuan is the war king who was stabbed in the back by Lian Lianqin. I accepted the undercover mission. Lian Lianqin. Let me do something behind your back. Zhang Ziyuan regained his consciousness and was furious. I solemnly swear this oath. Zhang Ziyuan is really miserable. There were 46 battles, big and small, before and after, and I saved you 24 times. You want to kill someone, right? Does it hurt? Does it hurt? Waste. The old man said word by word. Yang Shi stepped forward to put Zhang Ziyuan away and looked at Lian Lianqin with a complicated expression. Teacher, don't worry about the student's sins. The old man with a gloomy look and an extremely skinny face stood under the eternal temple and said coldly. The hoarse voice spread, and the shadow of the eternal temple shook slightly. I investigated the war kings around me. You showed signs of defecting to the abyss, so I chose you. Lian Liankan replied seriously. Zhang Ziyuan was furious and cursed. Based on the news Ye Bai received before, Zhang Ziyuan did not die in the Blood Sea abyss. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 485. Above the Fifth Abyss. The shadow of the Eternal Temple slowly disappeared, and Lian Liangan gave up an opportunity for promotion. Resurrected from the dead, he was a blessing in disguise and made breakthroughs one after another. Even at the stage of Tongtian God of War, Lian Liangan at this time is still at the level of being able to fight. When the shadow completely disappeared, Lian Liangan's eyes turned to the sky again. He hesitated for a moment, let go of the staff in his hand, took a half step back, and knelt down on one knee. The head that was comparable to a god was now humbled to the dust, and there was only awe in the hoarse voice. At your service. The invisible barrier dissipated, and the figures of Ye Bai and others emerged. The shadows stood behind Ye Bai, quietly watching the scene happening in front of them. A newly born god of war is a very important figure in any force. At this moment, he swore allegiance to Shura, the most powerful seed. Due to historical reasons, Lian Liankan does have a lot of dark history. Zhang Ziyuan was killed by him with his own hands. After becoming the leader of the demon cult, his hands were also stained with blood. Such a person who walks between black and white suddenly possesses the power of the heavenly god of war, and can even affect the situation between the two races. How to arrange Lian Liankan instantly became a very thorny problem. Ye Bai suddenly spoke. Third Master. Exist. Try the waters. Good. The strong man with bone weapons hanging all over his body walked up to Lian Liankan with long strides. Zhang, an honest man, said honestly. For this punch, I will use 30% of Ying San's strength. Before Lian Liankan could nod, a fist as big as a clay pot hit his face, sending him flying. One punch, serious injury. Ying San was a little embarrassed. He stood there and scratched his head, looking at Ye Bai in the sky, at a loss. What he meant was simple. If the next punch hits 5 times, he will be killed. Ye Bai had a clear understanding of Lian Liankan's strength. Su Qingfeng in Tongtian War God. Not really. Yang Yi chuckled a few times and explained to Ye Bai. The third child is very strong in the abyss. At 30% strength, he can probably kill Wang Tianwang. I understand, Wang Tianwang is Su Qingfeng. Ying San put away his fists and returned behind Ye Bai. Lian Liankan looked as usual, as if nothing had happened. A small punishment but a big warning. Since Lian Liankan wants to atone for his past sins, according to the agreement with the strongest Xiaoyao, he must solve the problem of blood shadow. Originally, the person in charge of shadow was Yingju. It might be difficult for Lian Liankan to convince Yingju. Although I don't know what happened during the period of his death. But, judging from the posture in front of him, the person shadow is talking about now should be Shura. After getting Shura's consent, he could continue what he wanted to do. Lian Liangan calmly walked behind Ye Bai and stood at the end of the line. Ye Bai put away his rocking chair and clapped his hands. It's time for things here to come to an end. Fighting from the 9th abyss to the 5th abyss, eating melons until full, and feeling sleepy while watching a movie. It's finally Ye Bai's turn to finish. Shadow 10. Exist. Ye Bai spoke quickly and ordered. Take Zhang Yun and Zhang Ziyuan and return to the garrison. Taking advantage of the emptiness of the 5th abyss, take the initiative to attack and stop when you are ready. Yes. Just now, Zhang Yun had already passed out due to his serious injuries. Naturally, Zhang Yun didn't see the scene where Zhang Ziyuan recovered from his blood shadow. Ye Bai continued to give instructions. Ying 1, go and bring Ying 2 back. He has already taken more than his annual leave. Yes. The weak woman squatted slightly, saluted, turned and left. Fourth Master, take stock of the current situation of the blood shadows and register them in a book. Yes. Shadow 1, Shadow 4, and Shadow 10 received their tasks respectively and left. Yabai looked at Ying-san behind him. Third Master, I've worked hard for you, so I'll send you off again. Not tired. Just when Yabai was about to leave, a good man couldn't help it anymore. Master Shiu. Master Luo. Look at me. It's me, Xiao Ziyao. Yabai didn't seem to hear. Ying-san looked dull and turned a deaf ear. Xiao Ziyao was anxious. He finally survived once, so he can't rebel again, right? Seeing that Shuro was about to leave, Xiao Ziyao resorted to a decisive blow. Master Shiu, we met in the gym. Yabai stopped and looked back at Xiao Ziyao, with an arc at the corner of his mouth. Interesting. The meaning of Xiao Ziyao's words is very interesting. He was hinting to Yabai that he knew Shura's true identity. Third Master understood what Xiao Ziyao said. Ying-san once again raised his casserole-sized fist, preparing to seal his mouth. Physical sealing, once and for all. Wait a minute. Yabai stopped Ying-san and glanced at Xiao Ziyao. To some extent, Xiao Ziyao is very important. Resurrection from the dead is, of course, a miracle. The resurrection from the dead here is different from the resurrection from the dead of Dracula and Cain. The resurrection of the vampire clan is based on the long river of blood. In other words, they never really die. Only when the river of blood is exhausted will the vampire be considered dead. But Xiao Ziyao and Lian Lianqin are different. Theirs is resurrection, a true resurrection from the dead. Xiao Ziyao is extraordinarily extraordinary. He also touches on a key level, from a shadow to a real person. Even if such an experimental subject dies, he will have to wait until Master Ju comes back before dying. Follow up. Great. Xiao Ziyao jumped 3 feet high and ran behind Yabai, his eyebrows dancing with joy. The ending of the 5th abyss ends here. Yabai and others set out again, heading to the 9th abyss. On the way, Yabai was even in the mood to chat. Third Master, where are you from? Ying-san was a little embarrassed. This. You can even make up a story to deceive me. Yabai said seriously. I really want to get information about the 99.99 million God of War's merits for nothing. Ying-san thought for a while and nodded in agreement, okay. His story is this. A long, long time ago, I was born. Yabai asked, what then? Then, I'm alive now. Third Master, hi. Yabai gave Ying-san a thumbs up. Ying-san is a capable person, and he really dares to make up stories. Everyone hurried on at a very fast pace and quickly returned to the 9th abyss. Fourth Master, where are you going? Look for Lu Qingjian. Now, this game of chess has reached its final stage. Yabai has already figured out many things. Shocked, the hindsight turned out to be Shura himself. Close your eyes. Ignoring the ridicule of the eye of insight, Yabai began to review. When I came to the 9th abyss, I mentioned this matter at the beginning to help Lao Lu treat his illness. Lao Lu wants to break through to level 900. According to the third brother, just come to the 9th abyss once. At that time, Yabai was still very confused. Could it be said that Lao Liu's illness can be cured by just taking a few steps? Now, Yabai came back to his senses. Lu Qingjian's heart is not only filled with those brothers who died in battle. His brothers, most likely, all turned into blood shadows. Otherwise, the people in the shadow are still alive and kicking in another way. There is no reason for Lao Lu to have such a big knot in his heart. And Lian Lianqin is the key to dealing with the blood shadow. A black wind blew past, and everyone came to the sky above the battlefield and looked down. Lu Qingjian, the peak war king, was burning with green flames at the moment and was fighting against a demon war god. Although he is at a disadvantage, Lu Qingjian has the opportunity to break through at any time and complete the counterattack. The problem lies here. Damn it! Damn it for me! Lu Qingjian's eyes turned red because he couldn't break through the level 899 level. The next second, 3 red lights appeared in his shadow. 3 blood shadows appeared in front of Lu Qingjian. Ye Bai sighed and lowered his eyes slightly. 3 names appeared in front of his eyes. Lu Qingmiao, Lu Qingzin, Lu Qingsun. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 486. There are 5 people in the Lu family, 4 shadows and 3 blood shadows. This is the real reason why Lu Qingjian cannot break through. The heavier it became, the more Ye Bai could feel the cruelty of 30 years of bloody war. It is precisely because of this heavy burden that Lu Qingjian has been trapped in the Peak Battle King for many years, unable to take this last step. The moment I saw the 3 blood shadows, the dust-covered memories came to my mind little by little. Lu Qingjian's eyes were bloodshot and he was so stunned. Before the 3 blood shadows could make any more moves, an old man with a sinister face fell from the sky and landed in front of the blood shadows. The light red shadow was drawn away bit by bit. The red lines on the old man's face became more intense and complicated. Ye Bai, who had seen it once, nodded slightly and saw some clues. The reason why these blood shadows are out of control is a problem with the original design of the shadows. In fact, the earliest batches of shadows are the easiest to lose control of. And Lian Liankan is more like a blood-shadowing noble phantasm specially cultivated to repair buff. In the process of dealing with the blood shadow, Lian Liankan himself also had an additional shackle. It will take some time for Lian Liankan to purify the 3 blood shadows in one go. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ye Bai looked down. Huh! He made a slightly surprised sound. The battlefield where Laolu was located was the most advanced garrison point. But, compared with the entire defense line, there are too many monsters on Laolu's side. Looking down from the battlefield, the number of monsters here is 3 to 5 times that of other places. At first, Ye Bai thought it was Laolu. As a result, Ye Bai discovered that there were 2 acquaintances at the garrison. Feng Dong, feet. How familiar is it? Feng Dong is now 3 mature, and feet is 5 mature. In the fortifications, Feng Dong cursed. I will never go on a mission with King Lu Zhan again. While cursing, he poured cold water on Fight, and a steam came out, making the whole room feel like a sauna. Ah, this. Ye Bai couldn't fix it. He noticed a detail. Fight seems to be particularly loved by monsters. Every time he entered the abyss, Feet was the one being cared for by the monsters. It was the same in stitching the abyss before, and Fight was in danger many times. Looking away, Ye Bai kept this matter in his heart and would check it out when he had time. Hey, isn't this the 5th demon? Ye Bai looked at the demonic energy in the distance, and a demon god with an evil look stood on the horizon. I haven't seen you for a few hours, why are you still alive? When it comes to yin and yang, Ye Bai is very good at it. With 3rd Master Ying behind him, Ye Bai has nothing to fear. What's more, the 5th demon has always wanted to die. He was not interested in killing Shura. If Shura becomes the most powerful person and is in a good mood one day, he might just kill him. Snort. The 5th demon god snorted coldly and turned to leave. Devil, please stay. Ye Bai used his killing move and signaled Ying San to follow him. He still has a score to settle with the 5th demon. Shura, if you come to me to ask for the pavilion of all things, don't talk about it. The 5th demon looked at Ye Bai warily, feeling that the other party had evil intentions. He did want to die. But Shura's price is too outrageous. Serious business. Yabai said righteously. You are a demon and I am a human. We are incompatible with each other. Our relationship is purely about money. Fifth demon god. Yabai took out a calculator and said meticulously. Let's talk about it first. When are you going to pay the child care fees, milk powder fees, and nutritional fees that you have owed for the past 100 years? Fifth demon god. Have I eaten your milk powder? Baffling. Even if it's a robbery, you have to find a way out. Besides, in this land of the abyss, except for the strongest, the fifth demon god has never been afraid of anyone. Is Ying-san amazing? You didn't eat it, but your son did. Yabai said seriously. Based on the age of the demons, they are still babies, right? The fifth demon god was speechless for a moment, and Ying-san added appropriately. Converted from demons to adults, they are only 8 years old. Yabai said confidently. Look, an 8-year-old child has been taking care of you for 100 years and you don't have to pay a penny. Isn't it appropriate? The fifth demon's eyes were dim and unclear. He was silent for a moment before speaking again and said coldly. Tell me the number. For 100 years, just calculate one god of war merit every day, 365 * 100 add 25, a total of 36,525 points of god of war merit. There are parts and components, which are reasonable. Second Master Ying's childcare expenses for the past 100 years are less than 40,000 god of war meritorious deeds. Good. The fifth demon god nodded and casually grabbed it forward. 2 9th-level god of war monsters were caught in his palm and crushed to pieces. At the same time, the abyssal origins and abyssal beads they carried were intercepted. The fifth demon spoke again. If your human race kills a 9th-level god of war monster, you will be rewarded with 36,000 god of war merits. Why is it so easy to pay? The fifth demon took the check and was a little surprised. Is this okay? I killed 2, do you want any change? There is a saying, the origin of the abyss and the abyss pearl, these two things, Yabai holds them in his hands, they are absolutely worth every penny. I have a person here who has rich experience in the bankruptcy of demon sections. He is the top talent you need. Definitely next time. Xiao Xiao looked at Shuro with tears in his eyes and said with tears in his eyes. Give change. The organization's funding is 1 million per year for the God of War's meritorious service. Xiao Xiao aside, both parties are very satisfied with this transaction. Yabai was very generous. He waved his hand and was full of heroism. The fifth demon god hires professional talents to manage the fifth demon cult for him at the price of 36,000 god of war merits per year. The fifth demon god exhaled a breath of turbid air and said viciously. His redemption date, 100 years from now. Money, the amount is right. A few minutes later, the two sides reached a deal again. Why don't you write 1,000 years in the future? Within 3 years, I will ensure that you become the 9th-level god of war. When the fifth demon saw the information on the check clearly, he fell silent again. Xiao Xiao patted his chest and said. Promise to complete the mission. After the negotiation, Yabai returned to Xiao Xiao, patted the other party on the shoulder and said. The fifth demon god's cool moves made Yabai's eyes light up. Can I say no? Could it be that the thing in front of me is fake? There is an undercover mission. Isn't it said that Shura has nothing to lose? This is not a matter of money. With that said, Yabai took out a check, wrote 35,475 of the God of War's meritorious service in an elegant manner, and handed it to the fifth demon god. After accepting the abyss beads from the 2 demon war gods, Yabai did not let the fifth demon god leave, but discussed something in a low voice. I have my own principles. 36,000 God of War meritorious deeds every year. When I, Shura, do business, I always pay attention to fair transactions, and no one is deceived. It is known as the walking pavilion of all things. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 487. Work hard, make the fifth demon sect bigger and stronger, and create greater glory. Yabai pulled Xiao Ziyao aside and said in a low voice. The fifth demon cult's annual activity funds are 1 million for the God of War's meritorious service. I see. When it comes to being a leader, Xiao Ziyao understands it so well. 37. After speaking, Xiao Ziyao quickly added. 70% is yours. Yabai frowned slightly and said unhappily. I don't intend to just earn the devil's money. Xiao Ziyao was a little confused. Not only did he earn money from the devil, but also from whom? Who else do you want to make money from? Xiao Ziyao said in confusion. Who has money? The demon sect, the undercover agents placed within the human race, these people are rich. After being prompted by Yabai, Xiao Ziyao understood instantly. There are many people in the fifth demon cult hiding in the fifth abyss, and these people are extremely fat. At the same time, the fifth demonic cult also arranged many undercover agents within the human race. As the acting leader of the fifth demon sect, Xiao Ziyao is responsible for the daily work while letting these guys peel off their skin. It is not easy at all. After arranging everything, Yabai patted Xiao Ziyao on the shoulder. When you complete the KPI, you, the acting leader, can become a regular leader and become the real leader. Really? Xiao Ziyao asked cautiously. What are my KPIs? Kill the fifth demon. Xiao Ziyao. Come on, I hope I can meet you alive next time. Yabai waved and sent Xiao Ziyao and the fifth demon away together. When Xiao Ziyao left, he did not forget to wave to Yabai. Shura, I am a good person. Xiao Ziyao was thrust into the fifth demon sect as the acting leader, which seemed a bit funny. In fact, both the fifth demon god and Yabai knew it well. Xiao Ziyao's biggest role is not to run the fifth demon sect, nor to kill the fifth demon god. His biggest role is to serve as a bridge of communication between the two of them. The fifth demon god's son, Ying Yi, has now run away from home and is fostered by Shura. At the same time, the fifth demon wants to die, and the first three strongest ones cannot be counted on. Although Shura is outrageous, he is not as outrageous as those three. Try your best. What if Shura doesn't have a clear mind and kills him? The farce of the fifth demon sect has come to an end. Yabai glanced at the battlefield. Lian Liankan was still purifying the blood shadow, and it looked like Lao Lu could successfully break through. After untying his heart knot, Lao Lu has accumulated a lot of experience, and his strength may even increase sharply. However, these have little to do with Yabai. Even if Lao Lu becomes a 9th level war god, he can only bully Su Qingfeng. Yabai now has the strength to challenge the 9th level god of war head-on. The ancestor of the level 1000 demon whom he successfully single-killed was proof of this. Where's second master Ying? Ying-san behind Yabai replied. The eldest sister just received them, and now she is in a mood and refuses to come back. Yabai raised his eyebrows slightly. Oh? What's the mood? Ying-san said truthfully. Second Master Ying said that he went to work according to his duties and was not even paid, and his travel allowance was cancelled. This is too much bullying to Ying. How big of a deal it is, let Ying Yi and Ye talk to each other, and he won't lose a penny. After thinking about it, Yabai added. I swear in the name of my third brother. Without this last sentence, Ying might not believe it. Ying-san was silent for a moment, then spoke again. Bring it back. Okay, let Ying Yi bring the second master here and keep an eye on him. A small part of Lao Liu's memory seal was attributed to Yabai. God knows whether Lao Lu will remember anything after this breakthrough. The best solution now is to let Ying watch from the sidelines. After Master Zhu left, the person with the deepest attainments in the soul system in the entire shadow was actually the schizophrenic second master Ying. After arranging this matter, Ye Bai pulled away and Ying San followed him. Third master, will you send me off again? Good. The two of them just walked on the battlefield of the ninth abyss, overlooking the entire battle situation. Most of the battle is nearing its end. The ninth demon god originally cooperated with the human race's exercises, and the demon tide under him just took a symbolic tour. The human legion, which had been prepared for a long time, caused great losses to many monsters in the fifth abyss. In particular, the ninth-level god of war Su Qingfeng returned to the battlefield and sounded the clarion call for counterattack. The invading demonic wave from the fifth abyss was completely wiped out and suffered heavy losses. Ye Bai, who had been busy before, now felt at ease. Well. Ye Bai stretched out and sighed. It's hard work. Ying San echoed, fourth master is tired. What about you, what are you going to do next? Ye Bai is a smart man, very clever. Ying San originally proposed to protect Shura personally, but no one else present noticed anything unusual. Only Ye Bai went to the Eternal Tower first to confirm the matter. Of course he knew that after this trip to the ninth abyss, the third master might have other tasks. In fact, when Ying Ju left, he did not arrange bodyguards for Shura. One of the very important reasons, Shura no longer needs bodyguards. Unknowingly, Shura has grown into a being who can stand alone. It is precisely because of this that Ying San wants to do other things. I made a deal with that one. Ying San tried to organize the language. The two fell into silence again. Cage San was once 100% a demon. Before we part, third master, why don't you say something? I'm going to dig a road. Ying San scratched his head, a little embarrassed. I can't reveal the secret of my eldest sister's identity. Ye Bai started to hint wildly. Ye Bai turned to ask, how long will it take? It's okay, I understand. Just walking and wandering aimlessly. Last time I was under the Eternal Tower, I had a question that I couldn't figure out. I wanted to ask fourth master for help. Ye Bai paused and continued. After reaching the edge of the battlefield, Ye Bai stopped, and Ying San also stopped. Regarding the top three shadows, Ye Bai has always been curious about their origins. Okay, leave early and come back early. Ye Bai nodded and did not pursue the matter. Second Master Ying is the son of the fifth demon god. As fast as 1 month, as slowly as half a year. Failure in free prostitution is normal in life. What I just said is that one day I will become an ancient person, which is what the ancients said. As the ancients say, if you send me 1,000 miles away, you will eventually see each other again. What about Shadow 1? Why does the Eternal Tower have no shadow? Ying San continued. Ye Bai thought for a while and said. Understood. Don't be surprised, let's start all over again. Ye Bai waved his hand. Third Master, please speak. Ying San looked honest and asked in a deep voice. Ying San shook his head, I've looked through human books and never seen this sentence. Ye Bai. Ying San estimated. If Mr. Ying works as a road digger, he can only poach the most powerful demon. Obviously, Ying San knows the answer. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 488. The Eternal Tower has no shadow? Ye Bai fell into silence. The third master seemed to have said everything, but also seemed to have said nothing. If you look at it this way, Ying Yi's origin is indeed a bit scary. Ye Bai frowned slightly and said to himself. Could Ying Yi be the tower spirit? Ying San shook his head, no. Stop talking, elder sister will be angry if you say anything else. Ye Bai walked forward, but Ying San stayed where he was and did not follow. Ye Bai turned around and asked, just send it here. I've sent you thousands of miles away, but I'll say goodbye in the end. Ying-san lives to learn and apply. Ye Bai waved his hand and said helplessly. Okay, leave early and come back early. All acquaintances are for parting. Ye Bai knew very well that the further back he took the road, the fewer people would travel with him. In the past 100 years, the human race has only produced 3 most powerful people. The whereabouts of the nightmare are unknown, wandering in the abyss without trace, and trapped in the eternal tower with ease. It's extremely cold at high places. Ying-san waved his hand and watched Ye Bai leave. After taking 2 steps, Ye Bai stopped and took out a thigh bone from his exclusive space. His face was filled with pain. Third Master, for this bone, I owe the Wanwu Pavilion 400,000 God of War merits. As he spoke, Ye Bai closed his eyes, became cruel, and threw the leg bone out. Privately ordering large and small leg bones for Ying-san, Ye Bai spent a total of 500,000 God of War merit. At that time, Ye Bai only had 100,000 God of War meritorious deeds, and the remaining 400,000 could only be kept in accounts, using the power of nature as collateral. As things happened, Zhao Qian temporarily advanced Ye Bai for this account. Ye Bai needed to raise all the money within 3 months and return Zhao Qian. Otherwise, penalty interest will be calculated based on the annual interest rate of 36%. Thinking of this, Ye Bai felt so heartbroken that he couldn't breathe. Taking the leg bone, Ying-san smiled innocently and hung the leg bone on his body. Gone. Let's go, let's go. Ying-san hadn't taken 2 steps when Ye Bai shouted. Third Master, don't forget, you only have a surname, and you still have one more thing to do. I know. Finally, the strong man covered in bones disappeared into the void. Ye Bai wanted to raise his hand, but then put it down, smiling wryly at himself, and shook his head. Alas, Master Ninth is gone, Master Third is here. The Third Master is gone and no one is coming. Didn't this Third Master leave in vain? The first day without the Tongtian God of War by my side was scary. 18 years old, the seed of the strongest, afraid that the devil is not strong enough. After parting ways with Ying-san, Ye Bai took the time to return to the 9th Abyss and get in touch with the Sky-Fire Legion. During the time when Ye Bai was missing, Ying Wu had already made corresponding arrangements according to his instructions. Soon, the Sky-Fire Legion, which received the distress signal, sent out several rescue teams and found Ye Bai easily. Classmate Ye Bai, after you received the alarm, because the demonic tide had arrived, you hid in the crack nearby and hid your presence until the demonic tide receded. Ye Bai nodded and recalled. Yes, I was hunting a demon warrior. Oh, by the way, I also killed a level 100 demon alone. The instructor who came to meet him asked some questions carefully and then took Ye Bai back to the garrison base. In fact, due to the existence of the demonic cult, strong human beings will face lengthy background checks as long as they stay alone in the abyss for a period of time. In history, there have been too many such traitors, and there is no room for the human race to be careless. However, Ye Bai's description was indeed consistent with the traces on the scene, and the instructors did not find too many doubts, so they will leave it at that for now. Subsequent investigations are generally left to more professional shadows. What's more, Ye Bai is a lone wolf and has shadows following him around. It is easy to verify what he said. After returning to the garrison base, Ye Bai and other summer camp students were gathered together. Due to the sudden attack of the demon tide, the summer camp's special training plan was changed, and they are now responsible for cleaning the battlefield. Ye Bai is the ultimate gangster among everyone. Occasionally, when he saw a monster that was still alive, Ye Bai directly reported it, called the King of War for support, and sent the monster back to the west. When clearing the gaps on the battlefield, Ye Bai would sometimes look down at his own shadow. I don't know where the Third Master has gone. Yeb I had a headache when he thought of Third Master and the 400,000 war god contributions he owed to Weavue Pavilion. The second abyss, the Demon Emperor's palace. A fire was burning outside the temple. Even the monsters being transported will be taken to other abyss and killed afterwards. When the strong man appeared, the housekeeper who was in charge of burning the furniture felt that he looked familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere. The appearance of Shura, the most powerful seed, caused another major reshuffle of the demonic forces. The butler's eyes were full of disgust, and he just felt unlucky. The ordinary 9th level monster rushed to the 5th abyss. The crow sculpture on the throne suddenly came to life. The strong man strode straight towards the Demon Emperor's palace, leaving the housekeeper stunned. Beads of sweat as big as soybeans streaked across his forehead, endless fear shrouded him, and the shock in his heart could not be described in words. The butler, who had the strength of the 9th level god of war, collapsed on the ground like a puddle of mud. The painting of the second devil. I remembered. In the Demon King's palace, on the throne, the second demon god was meditating. The blackbirds once brought endless fear to the abyss. There are many names for that being. Only he, the second demon god, level 999, defends the final glory of the abyss. In the sky, a crow with a crown descended from the sky and landed on the strong man's shoulder, very intimately. Be quick and burn all these tables, chairs, and other unlucky things. Your Majesty, the great chosen demon, returns to the second abyss of his loyalty today. The powerful Shadow 3 bid farewell to Shura, the most powerful seed. Their cries echoed throughout the second abyss. No matter how careful you are about that unlucky guy, you can never be too careful. It seems that the unlucky guy didn't infect himself with his bad luck. It wasn't until a long time later that the housekeeper came back to his senses. These things must not only be burned. The big demon couldn't rise again, the 5th demon's men suffered heavy losses, and none of the following demons could do anything. Monsters from the shadows have landed in the 9th abyss. Many older monsters, when they heard the crow, knelt down tremblingly in the direction of the Demon Emperor's palace. The light and shadow of the burning flames shone on his face, with sharp edges and corners, making him look increasingly silent. A strong man covered in white bones appeared in front of the Demon Emperor's palace. Sun Li finally left. The second demon god, the first abyssal demon, the first chosen one, the darling of the abyss, the most promising being to become the most powerful demon god. His words were stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say more than one word. The crow passed over the head of the second demon god, flew out of the Demon Emperor's palace, and finally circled in the sky. From a certain perspective, the current second demon god is the strongest person in the abyss. Just as the second demon god was thinking about what to do next, a butler, commanding many monsters, threw the luxuriously decorated tables and chairs into the fire. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 489. The Second Abyss. Demon Emperor's Palace. When the strong man covered in white bones appeared in front of the second devil raised his eyes slightly. It's you. He was slightly surprised. As the second demon god, his experience in ascending to the throne is very legendary. From an unknown monster in the abyss, he counterattacked all the way and became a demon god. His ranking continued to rise, and he finally firmly occupied the second place. Because the great demon god is related to the most powerful demon god, he is the ceiling of abyss strength. In other words, the second demon god is already the upper limit of the chosen demon god. The second demon god once met Ying San, but he didn't expect that Ying San turned out to be the first missing second demon god. It's me. Ying San nodded, and the crow on his shoulder let out a whine. For whom do crows crow? Looking at the familiar second abyss, Ying San said to himself. Back then, when Abyss decided to invade the human race, I was sleeping at home. Ying San recalled. Master Ju was chasing Lao Ju with a knife. He broke into my house and woke me up. The second demon's voice was slightly cold. So, you joined the human race? No, I was thinking at the time. It's quite troublesome. I might as well kill them all to make things cleaner. Ying San scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. I didn't win. How strong is the first second demon god? On this topic, in the circle of the Abyss demon god, different demon gods have different views. The older generation of demons believe that in a life and death battle, the first second demon will definitely be able to kill the great demon. In their view, the first second demon god was the only one of the demon clan who had any hope of reaching the most powerful position. The new generation of demon gods have more reservations. After all, they had never faced the first second demon god. Listening to Ying San's words, the second demon was a little confused. Yingju, is that strong? His qualifications are neither above nor below, nor is his strength. Regarding the rumored Shadow 3, he tends to overestimate the opponent's strength. But in this way, wouldn't Yingju look stronger? In this regard, Ying San commented very pertinently. The talent that Yingju can use is beyond your imagination. The second demon is still puzzled. Since you went to the human race, why are you coming back now? Ying San's departure is not as simple as disappearing. Ying San gave up the origin of the second abyss, gave up the second abyss, and gave up everything he had accumulated. Because of this, Ying San's strength dropped all the way, and it took a lot of effort to stabilize. Even today's Cage San has not yet returned to his former peak. I'm going to dig a way to the abyss of might. Ying San pointed to the throne under the second demon god and said seriously. Dig from here. Jajaja. After hearing Ying San's words, the second demon god seemed to have heard a joke and asked sadly. Did you ask me? The next moment, before the second demon god could take action, the abyss origin that had been integrated with him suddenly went berserk. The second demon was suppressed to the ground by his own origin. Looking at this scene, Ying San scratched his head in embarrassment. The abyss likes me quite a bit. As long as he is willing to accept the abyss, then Ying San is invincible. The second demon god, who was suppressed on the ground, enjoyed the treatment of a great demon god. He watched Ying San helplessly, took out a pickaxe, and smashed it against the throne. The throne shattered and countless gravel flew out. By the way, I forgot to introduce myself. Ying San was waving his pickaxe while chatting with the second demon. My surname is Zhang, Zhang Xiaoao's name. I'm quite fond of your skull. Just be careful and don't bump into it. Second demon god. He repented. He shouldn't have let that guy Sun Li come to the second abyss. Unlucky thing. Ye Bai, who was far away in the ninth abyss, yawned while cleaning the battlefield to catch fish. The daily life of the Supreme Seed is so boring and boring. Ying 1 and 2 have both returned, and Ye Bai has nothing else to worry about for the time being. Looking back now, when we rescued Lan Lao and left the Suture Abyss, everyone fell directly into the ninth abyss. I am afraid it was not an accident, but a plan. When the ninth demon god is undercover, with Lan Lao's physical condition, it is naturally the safest way to appear in the ninth abyss. Moreover, Ye Bai remembered that his second brother Wuhan came to rescue people and confronted the ninth demon god. It looked like a big fight was about to happen, but in the end everything was calm. Ye Bai couldn't help but sigh. Life is like a play, it all depends on acting skills. Details are all details. Too thin. Just as Ye Bai was fishing, an exciting news came from the front line. Lu Qingjian, the veteran peak war king of the Sky-Fire Legion, broke through during the battle and has been promoted to the god of war. Brother Bai, King Lu Zhan has become the god of war. While Wang Zhen was speaking, he lowered his voice and whispered. My grandfather said that Senior Qinjian's breakthrough this time was so extraordinary that even Wang Tianwang of the Nightmare Legion was alarmed. The rumor is that Senior Qinjian has broken through from level 899 to level 920 in one go. After stabilizing, he will be the third-level god of war. Listening to Wang Zheng's news, Ye Bai kept nodding and called 666. Awesome. Ye Bai said sincerely. It would be great if I could reach level 920 sometime. Lao Lu was a blessing in disguise this time, crossing the threshold of the god of war. From then on, the sky was high and the sky was high, and his achievements were immeasurable. It is said that Su Qingfeng, the deputy commander of the Nightmare Legion, is also particularly optimistic about Lu Qinjian. Good news came one after another from the front line, but Ye Bai was a little absent-minded. I always feel like I've overlooked something. What is it then? While Ye Bai was thinking, a shadow sneaked into his shadow. Shadow 4 is here. Ye Bai found a remote corner, and Ying Si was responsible for shielding the people around him. Fourth Master, something happened. Ying Si looked solemn, spoke concisely, and said quickly. Another group of monsters escaped from the Supreme Abyss, polluting the 7th and 8th Abyss. The strength of the monsters increased sharply, and the whereabouts of the two demon gods are unknown. The moment the garrison army clashed with the monsters, the defense line collapsed and there were over 1,000 casualties. The 7th and 8th Abyss Garrison Corps have given up their defense lines and have all withdrawn. The number of casualties is being estimated. Listening to Ying Si's report, Ye Bai's face was gloomy and he said nothing. The fall of the two Abyss was a rare defeat for the human race. The most important thing is that Xian Abyss has been causing trouble one after another, sending very dangerous signals. After listening to Ying Si's words, Ye Bai, whose brows were filled with gloom, asked. The 7th and 8th Abyss, what's the current situation? The human race cannot allow the two Abyss to be completely lost. Even giving up the defense line is only a temporary measure. The 7th Abyss is taken over by the most powerful Wuhan and his sword slaves. The 8th Abyss is led by Xuemeng and the Nightmare and Wuhan legions try to retake the defense line. After speaking, Ying Si added. According to wartime regulations, the manpower corresponding to the shadow has been deployed, but... Having said this, Ying Si paused and said bravely. There are huge casualties on the front line. As usual, someone needs to go to the battlefield and use shadow patterns to recover the remaining souls. In the past, when Yingju was around, Yingju would do this. When Yingju was away, there were few wars between the human race and the Abyss. Fourth Master, I can go. What Ying Si wanted to say was interrupted by Ye Bai raising his hand. Since Yingju left the shadow pattern to Shura, Shura not only has the power, but also assumes due obligations. If you want to wear a crown, you must bear its weight. Ye Bai, who looked gloomy, said two words softly. I come. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 490. The Eighth Abyss. The setting sun is like blood, and the black clouds are like ink. Red and black, fighting endlessly. The fighting on the battlefield has subsided, and the rescue team is shuttled among the ruins, rescuing seriously injured and dying soldiers, and more often than not, they are transporting some damaged remains. Regardless of their strength in life, death is fair to everyone on this battlefield. Among those who died in battle, the strongest was a 9th-level war god, and the weakest was a 1st-level war king. In several rounds of bloody battles, the human race had no soldiers and generals suffered casualties. There are only terrifying cracks everywhere, silently telling the world how tragic the previous battle was. The Abyss, which had been silent for decades, once again showed its fangs to the human race. Before dawn, a hole in the darkness is opened again. Everyone seemed to have a huge boulder pressing on their hearts, so dull that they could not speak, and they were so congested that they panicked. After the attack on the 8th abyss, the Nightmare Legion and the Traceless Legion, the two most powerful legions, went into battle at the same time. Under the leadership of Xuemeng and at great cost, they managed to regain part of the defense line, repelled the monster's offensive, and rested in place. In the darkness, countless pairs of scarlet eyes were staring at this place, ready to pounce at any time and tear off a piece of flesh and blood from the human army. Everyone knows it. The retreat of the demonic tide is for the next wave of attacks. A portal opened silently, and a dark shadow walked out of it. The human war god who was on guard saw clearly the black cloth on the opponent's left arm, and did not step forward to question his identity. Instead, he turned slightly sideways and pointed a direction to the opponent. The young man in black traveled unimpeded and reached the front end of the defense line, where the battle was the most brutal. A fierce general is sitting here drinking. Seeing the young man in black coming, he turned his head and twitched the corner of his mouth. Coming. Xuemeng was not surprised by Shura's arrival. If Shura doesn't come, then it's an accident. Ye Bai nodded. Kindness. He looked into the distance, looking at the monsters that were about to move under the dark clouds. The monsters polluted by the abyss are more than 10 times stronger than before. Level 990, level 991, level 990. A series of red numbers appeared in front of Ye Bai's eyes, shocking. There are so many monsters above level 990 hidden in the demonic tide under the black clouds. These numbers alone give people an almost endless sense of oppression. Ye Bai had seen the power of the demonic tide before in the 9th abyss. At that time, what he faced was only a tens of millions of demon waves, and it was still a small fight, and the 9th demon god deliberately let go. The monsters in front of them, after being contaminated by the supreme abyss, their strength increased more than 10 times, and a group of extremely troublesome quasi-god level monsters appeared. Seeing Ye Bai's confusion, Xuemeng grinned and wanted to smile, but couldn't. The most powerful demon, my father and the others tried their best, but they couldn't stop him. All along, under the protection of the strongest, the situation of the human race is getting better and better. Many people subconsciously ignore one thing. The abyss demons also have the most powerful ones. Moreover, judging from the cases of previous battles, the strength of the strongest demon god can hold a candle to the strongest humans. When he wakes up from his slumber little by little, even the slightest movement may be a disaster for the fragile human race. From another perspective, the previous most powerful demon god had been in a deep sleep, and he did not panic even when he fought against two of the most powerful humans from the human race. Because he never felt threatened. From the perspective of the most powerful demon god, it doesn't matter how many abyss demons die or how many abyss demon gods die. Sleeping in the seal and slowly recovering one's own strength is the top priority. But 100 years have passed, and the most powerful person of the human race is sitting happily in the eternal tower, and a new generation of the most powerful seed Shura appears. The situation quietly changed. The most powerful demon god cannot sleep peacefully, so he must take action. The most powerful Wuhan is currently fighting fiercely in the 7th abyss. After listening to Xuemeng's words, Ye Bai didn't say anything more and turned to ask. What are you going to do next? Regarding the actions of the shadow, Ye Bai can point out or give pointers. But when it comes to making decisions about the general direction of the human race, Ye Bai is still too immature and is more like a bystander and learner. The defense line here must be abandoned. If it cannot be defended, even if it is defended, it will only be a burden. Among the top leaders of the human race, Xuemeng, as the top combat force, knew more information than Ye Bai. Xuemeng explained. The purpose of retaking the defense line is to interrupt the demonic offensive, and at the same time collect the remains of the fallen soldiers and return their souls to their hometown. After these are completed, the two armies of Nightmare and Traceless will withdraw from the Eighth Abyss. From now on, they will no longer enter the Eighth Abyss in an organized manner, but will form a sharp knife squad to execute the beheading plan. Just from these words, it is not difficult to hear how bad the situation in the Eighth Abyss really is. Ye Bai's eyes fell on Xuemeng, and he frowned and asked, "Your injuries?" Xuemeng was not injured many times. Sometimes it was just a skin injury, and he didn't bother to care about it, so he just left it there, looking scary, but actually it didn't bother him. But the Xuemeng in front of him had many wounds contaminated with demonic energy, making it difficult to heal for a while. Xuemeng showed an indifferent expression and said casually, "There are too many quasi-gods among the monsters. During the fight, I was attacked by the eighth demon god. It didn't bother me." According to Xuemeng, the eighth abyss has been polluted to this extent. Apart from the action of the most powerful demon god, there is another very important reason. The eighth demon god has clearly turned to the strongest demon god. To be precise, he betrayed himself in exchange for more powerful power. The positions of the abyss demon god and the supreme demon god have never been the same. On the one hand, these abyss demon gods need the strongest demon gods to resist the strongest humans on their behalf. On the other hand, the goal of the abyss demon god is to replace the most powerful demon god. This is the first time in history that the eighth demon god has completely surrendered to the most powerful demon god. Seeing Shura's serious face, Xuemeng felt that he needed to talk about something happy. The eighth demon god also felt uncomfortable. "I hit him with my backhand." Ye Bai rolled his eyes and said angrily, "Not hammered to death. He's not dead. If I could use a sword, I would kill him with a hammer. That's called being cut by the sword." Oh! The two fell into silence. After a while, Xuemeng suddenly said, "Sorry." This sorry sentence was meant for Ye Bai. In Xuemeng's view, at the age of 18, when you are in your prime, you should be reading, falling in love, studying, and doing what you want to do. Instead of walking on the side of purgatory, facing the demonic tide, and scheming with the devil. Ye Bai shook his head, "You're welcome." The two fell into silence again. After a while, Xuemeng couldn't help but ask, "What are you thinking about?" Even though Shura was wearing a mask, Xuemeng seemed to be able to see the kind smile under the mask. Ye Bai's tone was also very kind. "I'm thinking about how to kill the eighth demon god."